Noah was a quiet man who had chosen a life far removed from the noise of the outside world. He lived alone in a small cabin nestled deep within the forest, where thick trees and a gentle stream surrounded him, providing the peace he had always sought. His days were simple: gathering firewood, hunting just enough to survive, and writing his thoughts in an old notebook. To Noah, nature was not just a refuge but a silent companion in his solitary life. One freezing winter night, the wind howled through the cracks in the cabin's wooden walls, and snow fell heavily, blanketing the forest in white. As usual, Noah sat by the fireplace, hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea, listening to the sounds of the winter woods. Suddenly, a strange noise broke the stillness. At first, Noah thought it might be a tree branch snapping under the weight of snow or the wind rattling the porch. But the noise came again, a faint scratching at the door, accompanied by soft, raspy breaths. Noah rose, his curiosity piqued but tempered by caution. He wasn't accustomed to visitors, especially not during a snowstorm. Grabbing an oil lamp, he made his way to the door. As he opened it just a crack, a gust of icy wind rushed in, making him shiver. What he saw next froze him in place. A female lynx with thick fur matted with snow stood on his porch, her glowing yellow eyes staring directly at him. Behind her, two small lynx kittens trembled, their tiny bodies barely holding up against the biting cold. For a moment, Noah was at a loss. He had seen lynxes from a distance during his hunts, but never this close. Lynxes were wild creatures, elusive and wary of humans. Yet, this mother lynx didn't appear aggressive or fearful. Instead, her eyes seemed to plead for help. Noah glanced at the kittens behind her, their small frames quivering with each gust of wind. He hesitated, fully aware of the risks of letting wild animals into his home. A part of him wanted to close the door and let nature take its course. But another part, a deeper, more compassionate part, couldn't ignore the mother lynx's desperate gaze. It reminded him of a mother's instinct to protect her young, no matter the cost. After a few moments of internal conflict, Noah exhaled deeply and unlatched the door, opening it wide. "Come in," he murmured, more to himself than to them. The mother lynx stepped inside cautiously, her movements deliberate but not threatening. The kittens followed, huddling close to her as they entered the warm cabin. Noah shut the door behind them, sealing out the storm. He quickly stoked the fire in the hearth, ensuring the room stayed warm. The mother lynx stood watchful, her eyes fixed on Noah as if assessing whether he could be trusted. Noah laid an old blanket on the wooden floor near the fire, gesturing for them to settle there. The lynx slowly approached the spot, curling her body around her kittens to shield them from the cold. Noah stepped back, giving them space. He sat in his usual wooden chair, his eyes never leaving the unusual guests. "I don't know why you came here, but I guess you didn't have much of a choice," he muttered, speaking as if to a long-lost friend. "We'll get through tonight together." Through the flickering firelight, Noah could see the toll the harsh winter had taken on them. The mother lynx's fur was matted with snow and dirt, and her legs bore a few scratches, likely from navigating rough terrain. The kittens, though fragile, slowly began to relax in the warmth, their curious eyes darting toward Noah with a mix of fear and fascination. Noah didn't try to approach them or do anything that might startle them. Instead, he took some dried meat from a cupboard, tore it into small pieces, and placed it in a bowl a safe distance away. "If you're hungry, help yourself," he said softly. The mother lynx lifted her head, eyeing the bowl before cautiously stepping forward. She sniffed it briefly before eating, her kittens soon joining her, emboldened by her presence. The small cabin grew warmer, both from the fire and the unexpected company. Noah watched them quietly, the wind outside howling like a reminder of the peril they had escaped. He knew letting them in was a risky decision. Lynxes were wild animals, and he couldn't predict how they might react to prolonged proximity with a human. But as he observed, the mother lynx curled protectively around her young, her eyes heavy with exhaustion but relieved. Noah felt he had done the right thing. That night, Noah stayed awake by the fire, not out of fear but a sense of responsibility. He fed the flames to ensure the cabin remained warm for his unusual guests. As he sat there, he couldn't help but wonder what had driven this family of lynxes to his door. Was it mere coincidence? Or was it nature's way of seeking kindness in a time of need? The first morning after the snowstorm, dim light filtered through the small cabin windows, casting a gentle glow on the wooden floor where the lynx family lay curled up near the fireplace. Noah had been awake for hours but didn't rush to move. Sitting in his familiar wooden chair, he watched the mother lynx, her body curled protectively around her two kittens. She remained cautious, her sharp golden eyes never leaving Noah, as though ready to defend her young if he came too close. The two kittens, sensing the warmth and safety of the room, began to inch cautiously around, their small paws exploring the wooden floor. Noah knew that any sudden movement might break the fragile atmosphere of trust. He refrained from getting too close, maintaining a respectful distance to avoid alarming the mother lynx. Quietly, he got up and walked to the small kitchen area, where he had some leftover food from the previous night. He found a portion of cooked chicken in the fridge, something he thought might appeal to their predatory instincts. Carefully, he shredded the chicken into small pieces and placed them in a metal bowl, setting it on the floor a safe distance from where the lynx family rested. The mother lynx lifted her head, her gaze sharp as she observed Noah's every move. She sniffed the air, detecting the scent of the food. After a few moments of hesitation, she rose and cautiously approached the bowl. Noah remained still, ensuring he didn't do anything that might startle her. As the mother lynx began eating, the two kittens timidly followed, drawn to the food by their growing hunger. Watching them eat, Noah felt a sense of relief. He knew this was the first step in building trust. Over the next few days, Noah spent much of his time observing the lynx family. He began noticing subtle details about the mother lynx's behavior. She moved carefully and deliberately, and the slight bulge of her belly revealed a surprising truth. She was pregnant. The realization left Noah momentarily stunned, but also deepened his sense of responsibility. This family hadn't just come to him seeking shelter from the storm. They were seeking a safe haven for the new life soon to come. Noah adjusted his efforts accordingly. He added more soft blankets near the fireplace to create a warm and comfortable space for the mother lynx. He regularly provided food, ensuring she had enough nourishment to care for herself and her kittens. Each time she ate, her wary eyes softened slightly, as though she was beginning to understand that Noah posed no threat. The kittens, meanwhile, grew bolder and more curious. Once accustomed to the cabin, they began exploring every nook and cranny, from under the table to beneath the chairs and into the small corners Noah rarely noticed. One day, as Noah sat writing in his old notebook, he felt something soft brush against his leg. Glancing down, he saw one of the kittens pawing at his boots. His bright eyes filled with curiosity. Unable to suppress a smile, Noah chuckled softly. "Well, little one, what are you up to?" The kitten didn't answer, of course, but it quickly scampered back to its mother as if completing a daring mission. The sight warmed Noah's heart. He had never imagined that a wild lynx family could bring such joy and vitality to his once quiet cabin. The mother lynx also began showing signs of trust. While she initially kept a close watch on Noah at all times, she now felt comfortable enough to rest her eyes, lying peacefully by the fire even as Noah moved about the cabin. It was a small but meaningful gesture that told Noah he was earning her trust. The small cabin, once a solitary retreat for Noah, had now become a temporary haven for the lynx family. The sound of tiny paws padding across the wooden floor, the soft mewling of the playful kittens, and the sight of the mother lynx resting peacefully brought a newfound liveliness to the space. Though Noah maintained a respectful distance to honor their wild nature, he couldn't deny that their presence had transformed his home and his life. He often wondered why they had chosen his cabin. Was it pure coincidence? Or had nature somehow guided them to him? seeking kindness in a time of need? Whatever the reason, Noah knew he would do everything in his power to provide them with safety and care. The harsh winter days were long, but Noah held onto the hope that, by spring, the Lynx family would be strong enough to continue their journey in the wild. Until then, he remained committed to building their trust. One small step at a time. One quiet winter evening, Noah sat by the fireplace, his old notebook in hand, recording his thoughts about the extraordinary days he'd spent with the Lynx family that had become an irreplaceable part of his life. Snow continued to fall outside the window, but inside the small cabin, the flickering fire created an atmosphere of warmth and calm. The mother lynx lay near the fire as usual, her two kittens playing nearby, pawing at the blanket and chasing each other's shadows on the wooden floor. But tonight, Noah noticed something unusual. The mother lynx appeared restless. She wasn't lying still as she normally did but kept shifting her position, her sharp eyes reflecting unease, and her body quivered slightly. Noah put down his notebook, observing her more closely. When he saw her breathing become labored and shallow, he realized she was going into labor. His heart raced not with fear, but with a mix of anticipation and concern. He understood that this was a crucial moment for the mother lynx, and he needed to ensure she felt as safe and comfortable as possible. Moving quietly, Noah cleared a quiet corner of the cabin and spread out extra soft blankets near the fireplace. A spot warm but not too bright. He made sure not to disturb her, preparing everything quickly before retreating to give her space. The mother lynx, though still watchful, seemed to understand that Noah meant no harm. She cautiously moved to the prepared corner, curling up and settling into the spot. Her two kittens, as if sensing something important was happening, obediently stayed in another part of the cabin. Not disturbing their mother, Noah kept his distance, his eyes fixed on the lynx but his hands firmly in his lap. He knew this was her moment, and he had no right to interfere. Time passed slowly. The room steeped in a profound silence broken only by the wind howling outside and the mother lynx's rhythmic breathing. After hours of labor, Noah witnessed something truly miraculous. The birth of 3 new lynx kittens. They were tiny, fragile, their eyes tightly shut, entirely dependent on their mother. The mother lynx immediately began caring for them, licking each one clean and nudging them close to her body for warmth. Despite her exhaustion, her eyes radiated pride and fierce protectiveness. Noah sat motionless, feeling as though he'd just witnessed something sacred. He had never imagined that a natural event like this could touch him so deeply. He felt a profound connection not only to the mother lynx but to the entire family, a connection he couldn't fully explain. In that moment, his cabin no longer felt like a solitary refuge in the woods. It had become a temporary sanctuary, a place where new life had been brought into the world. In the days that followed, Noah cared for the lynx family more diligently than ever. He prepared food regularly and kept the cabin warm and quiet so the mother lynx could focus on nurturing her 5 kittens. The 2 older kittens seemed to understand their mother's new responsibilities and became less rambunctious, spending more time near their younger siblings. Noah often sat near the fireplace, observing the family and feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known before. Gradually, Noah realized that he had changed significantly since the day the Lynx family first appeared at his door. He had always valued solitude, but the liveliness of this wild family had brought warmth and purpose to his once quiet life. Caring for them wasn't just an act of kindness. It had become an integral part of his daily routine. Through helping and protecting them, Noah felt as though he was also healing the emptiness in his own heart. Watching the mother lynx tend to her newborns, Noah couldn't help but admire her strength and resilience. Every action she took, from keeping her kittens warm to her ever-watchful gaze, was a testament to the fierce love and survival instincts of nature. He felt fortunate to witness this, as though nature itself had trusted him with the privilege of learning and experiencing its wonders firsthand. One evening, as Noah sat by the fire, the 2 older kittens grew bolder, venturing closer to him. One of them even licked his hand lightly before scampering back to its mother. Noah smiled, feeling the slow but sure progress of trust between him and the Lynx family. He didn't know what the future held, but for now, he resolved to do everything he could to keep them safe and healthy. The mother lynx's labor wasn't just a miraculous moment. Winter gradually gave way to spring, and the first rays of sunlight began to pierce through the snow-covered trees surrounding Noah's cabin. The small room no longer felt as cold and empty as it once had. The presence of the Lynx family had brought new life into it, and Noah felt his heart grow warmer with each passing day. The Lynx kittens had grown at an astonishing rate, transforming from fragile, delicate creatures into lively, curious little lynxes exploring every corner of the cabin. Their once cautious eyes now sparkled with trust and curiosity as they glanced at Noah. The mother lynx, who had been so wary at first, now allowed Noah to approach more closely. When he prepared food or stoked the fire, she simply watched him quietly instead of growling or moving away. This progress brought Noah joy, but he was also keenly aware that their time together was nearing its end. The snow was melting, signaling the arrival of spring, and Noah knew the Lynx family needed to return to the wild, where they truly belonged. Over the next few days, Noah began preparing for the inevitable farewell. Through an old radio, he consulted a wildlife expert, who advised him to create a transitional space where the Lynx family could practice survival skills before being released. With care and patience, Noah constructed a small enclosure outside the cabin, surrounded by a temporary fence. Inside, he arranged rocks for climbing and placed branches for the kittens to practice hunting and stalking. First, the mother lynx was hesitant to leave the cabin and enter the training area, but gradually, she seemed to understand it was safe. She led her kittens outside, encouraging them to explore the world beyond the cabin. Noah watched from a distance, feeling a mix of pride and melancholy as his wild family adapted to the natural environment. The lynx kittens began climbing the rocks, their initial attempts clumsy but improving with each try. Noah even witnessed the mother lynx teaching her young how to use their claws to grip tree trunks or how to wait and observe potential prey. Every morning, Noah sat by the cabin window, sipping his tea and watching the Lynx family from afar. He recorded his observations in his old notebook, small but meaningful moments. A kitten failing to jump between rocks but trying again until it succeeded. The mother lynx grooming her young after a tiring day of play, or the way she constantly scanned the surroundings to ensure her kittens were safe. As time passed, Noah found immense joy in caring for the Lynx family but also learned profound lessons from them. The patience, love, and resilience of the mother lynx filled him with deep admiration. On quiet nights by the fire, Noah reflected on how much he had changed. Once content with solitude, he now realized the value of connection with both humans and animals. The Lynx family had brought meaning and warmth to his life in ways he hadn't expected. The day of their departure finally arrived. One morning, as the last patches of snow melted and the trees began sprouting new leaves, Noah opened the gate of the enclosure, allowing the Lynx family to leave freely. The mother lynx led the way, stepping cautiously but without fear. She paused for a moment, turning to look at Noah, her golden eyes seeming to convey a silent thank you. The kittens followed, occasionally glancing back at Noah before continuing forward. Noah stood by the open gate, watching as the Lynx family disappeared into the forest. A gentle sadness filled his heart, but it wasn't an empty sorrow. It was a deep gratitude. He knew he had done everything he could to help them, and now they were ready for life in the wild. In the days that followed, Noah's cabin returned to its usual quiet. But this time, the silence was different. It wasn't loneliness. It was a peaceful stillness filled with memories of the Lynx family. Noah resumed his simple life, but he knew this experience had forever changed him. Nature was no longer just a refuge. It was a source of inspiration and connection. On spring mornings, Noah often stepped outside and looked toward the forest, where the Lynx family might be living their new life. He smiled, feeling proud to have been a small part of their journey. That unexpected encounter wasn't just an event. It was a reminder that in this vast world, Every creature can find connection and meaning if we open our hearts to welcome it. It was a clear spring morning, with gentle sunlight filtering through the forest canopy, signaling that the day of farewell had arrived. Noah stood before the simple wooden gate leading into the forest, his heart heavy with emotion. He knew this moment would come, but that didn't lessen the sense of emptiness he felt. In front of him, the Lynx family waited. The mother Lynx stood confidently at the forefront, her sharp eyes retaining their characteristic wariness. Behind her, the 5 Lynx kittens, once fragile and tiny, had grown into lively, energetic creatures brimming with life. Noah crouched down and unlatched the gate, opening the path to the wild. A gentle breeze swept past, carrying the scent of budding leaves and wildflowers. The mother Lynx stepped forward, pausing momentarily as if to assess her surroundings. Then, she turned back to look at Noah, her golden eyes catching the sunlight. In that moment, Noah felt an unspoken connection between them. Her gaze held not just the cautious vigilance he had come to know but also a silent gratitude. A thank you to the man who had opened his heart to protect her family during the harshest months. Step by step, the mother Lynx led her young into the forest. The kittens bounded and leaped, eagerly exploring their first steps into the vast natural world. At one point, one of the kittens paused, turning to glance back at Noah as if to say goodbye. Noah stood still, his eyes following the small family as they disappeared deeper into the trees. When they were finally out of sight, a wave of emptiness washed over him, but it was accompanied by a profound sense of gratitude. He let out a quiet sigh, not of sadness alone but of fulfillment. Noah didn't immediately return to his cabin. He stood by the open gate for a long time, staring into the forest where the Lynx family had vanished. In his mind, moments from their time together played like a slow reel of cherished memories. The first night they appeared at his door, the cautious glances of the mother Lynx as she accepted food, the playful antics of the kittens as they grew bolder, and the miraculous night when the mother Lynx gave birth. Every memory filled him with a mix of longing and joy, reminders of the incredible bond they had shared. When Noah finally returned to the cabin, the silence felt heavy in the space that had once been filled with life. The soft blanket near the fireplace, where the mother Lynx had often rested, was still there. Tiny paw prints left by the kittens on the wooden floor hadn't completely faded. Noah carefully tidied up but didn't rush to erase the traces of the Lynx family. He wanted to keep them as small reminders of the remarkable experience they had shared. In the days that followed, Noah resumed his usual routine. He stoked the fire, cooked meals, and wrote in his old notebook. But this time, his writings weren't just reflections on solitude or the beauty of nature. They were stories about the Lynx family. He wrote about how they had transformed his life, giving him a new perspective on the bond between humans and animals. Through caring for the Lynx family, Noah realized he had learned to open his heart to the world around him. Occasionally, Noah would step outside and stand by the wooden gate, gazing toward the forest. He smiled as he imagined the Lynx family, perhaps climbing over large rocks, frolicking under the sunlight, or hunting with determination and grace. In his heart, they weren't just temporary guests but a part of his life. Even if only for a brief time, he reminded himself that, though he couldn't see them anymore, he knew they were living free and strong somewhere in the woods. As the sun set each evening, Noah would sit by the fireplace, his eyes gazing out the window into the fading light. He felt immense gratitude for the unexpected encounter that had brought the Lynx family into his life. It had given him not only joy but also a valuable lesson about compassion and connection. The cabin no longer felt the same, and Noah knew he had been forever changed. He understood that in this vast world, the bonds we form, whether with people or with animals, bring deep meaning to life, and he would always treasure that.